in a row in their back pocket. Can the boys in orange and blue make it 11 against Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and William Nylander? We get you set for the Oilers and the Maple Leafs on the Oil Stream pregame show. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the pregame show. Tom Gazzola with you at the Satellite Studios in downtown Edmonton. YouTube Trev holding things down back at ESTHQ. Joaquin Gage will join us later on. He is our game analyst tonight with Game Changers, and we'll also touch base with our good friend David Pagnotta from the fourth period, who will give us the scoop on these Maple Leafs who visit town. And they are a team that has lost its three straight, or I should say winless in three straight is the proper term. Meanwhile, you got the Oilers with a franchise record, 10 straight victories. Can they get it done? Can they push it to 11? I like their chances. We will find out shortly. Edmonton 23-15-1 on the season. The Maple Leafs 21-12-8 riding into this game. As always, join the conversation. Hit us up in the inbox 780-218-9999. And if you're watching, welcome to the program on our EST YouTube channel. Get into the nasty chat. I see Oily Sink got in there before everyone else said, let's go, Oilers. VR Montenegro says, good evening, nasties. Looking for number 11, LFG. And let's touch base with YouTube Trev as well. Buddy, are you doing okay? Sounded like you were having a bit of a struggle before we got to the air here.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a mishap we had. One of our monitors kind of crapped the bed, if you will. So we had to improvise. We figured it out as always, and the show must go on, Tommy. So yeah, we got her all figured out, and here we are. So I was a little flustered at first, not gonna lie, but yeah, I was. I really was. But you know, I've come a long way. Like starting in the first week of EST, I would have been lost. I honestly would have been it would have been dreadful. But right now, it's going really good. It's going smooth. So here's hoping it stays like that.
Well done.
Thanks, buddy.
Growing before our very eyes.
Appreciate that, man.
Impressive. No, thank you. Is Zach to come with you? I have not seen Zach to come, and it feels like a week almost.
Yeah. No Zach to come today. It's literally just me at the EST HQ, and I don't mind it. I'm okay. It's a little lonely, but whatever. I got to see your face right now, so that's good.
Oh, that's so nice of you. Will you be frolicking in our studios?
Yeah, man. I'm not gonna lie. The last few games, I think it's been just me. Zach to come Zach to come. Yeah, I was like, wait, we do call him Zach to come. Yeah. He was here for just the pregame, but then he left, and it was good. We got the basketball hoop set up, so I've been practicing that because me and Dusty might have a little game of horse, I think it's called, right? And so yeah, we've been practicing a little bit, and it's been good. I don't mind it at all.
Okay.
And
I'm glad to hear it.
I cannot wait for the game tonight. Just like all the nasties in the chat right now, I am just pumped, Tommy. It's going to be awesome.
I love it. I love the excitement. All right, let's roll through because we do have Pagnotta joining us in about 10 minutes' time. It's the Oilers and the Maple Leafs. Smash that thumbs up button if you're just joining us on the YouTube page. If you're making your way down to Ice District, drive safely. Roads a little bit better, but I know we got more snow. So be cautious out there, and we appreciate you tuning in as always. And if you want to text in, 780-218-9999 is the number to hit us up. I'm going to throw the question of the night out there. I'm curious to know what our listeners and our viewers have in mind when I ask this. Among the Canadian teams outside of Edmonton, which one is your second favorite to cheer for? 780-218-9999 or the nasty chat. Which team outside of Edmonton among the Canadian teams is your favorite to cheer for? If it's none, you could tell us that. If it's like two or three of them, I want to know. If it's only one other one, please tell me. And also add why. Why do you bother to cheer for another Canadian team if there is another one outside of the Oilers that you root for? 780-218-9999 or nasty chat if you're watching on our YouTube channel. I will just straight up say it. I don't cheer for any of them. Now, my life is a hell of a lot easier when the Oilers have success, and I enjoy it more because people around here are happier. I do not have another team to cheer for. I don't really cheer for the Oilers. I am a broadcaster. I'm supposed to be impartial, although I have my reasons to like when the Oilers win. Trev, what say you?
I'm very impartial as well there, Tommy. I'm just joking.
Okay, yeah, okay.
I'm learning. I'm learning.
You're getting better.
Yeah, I'm trying to get better. That's for sure. But
You are.
this is a really good question, Tommy. Honestly, I can't say I cheer for really any of the other Canadian teams in the regular season. If the Oilers are out, yeah, then I might in the playoffs. If there's one last, like, you know, the Canucks way back when, and then the Ottawa Senators when they were playing the Penguins there, I was rooting for them. I'm not going to lie, but I'm more of a players. I cheer for the players. I like the players on the team.
Okay.
So I'm not a huge Leafs fan, but I love Marner. I love Matthews. I love William Nylander. Like, I think those guys are studs. I'm not a huge Canucks fan, but I love Thatcher Demko. I think he's an absolute stud. So it's tough. My dad's probably really mad at me right now because I haven't said the Jets. He's from Winnipeg, so I think I think I'll probably have to go with the Jets though, just because I don't know. It's I don't mind their players, and it's kind of close to home, away from home, I guess.
I get it. I like watching Jets games because they're a good team, and they're kind of like it's nice to have the Jets back in the NHL. It's nice to have 7 Canadian teams again. I do remember when we had 8 Canadian teams. That was awesome. So that's kind of like I'll watch the Jets and be like, well, I hope they have a good night. But not often. It's just kind of like it's nice to have them. That's how I look at it. And we've had some great responses already. Jake Walters, I'm going to read this, says, watching from Cabo, guys, LFG, oil by a zilly. And then Jake says, Ottawa. I like a lot of their players, and I really don't have any animosity towards them. So kind of like you, Trev, going with a team that you like to watch their players. Box Pounder also enjoys Ottawa. Gavin says Montreal, none in the West with a smiley face. VR Montenegro says Winnipeg, hands down. And then where else do we have? Oh, Gavin also adds Pausica, original 6. And Jenna says Habs because my mom's fave player was Pat Roy. And Vance Van Vandervan. Hello, Vance Van Vandervan says no other Canadian teams to cheer for. Boston is my Eastern team because of what they did to T.O. and Van in the past. And then Green and Gold says the Elks, but that's a different sport. Yes, indeed. Appreciate that. So if you're just tuning in, question of the night, I'll throw it out there. Among the Canadian teams outside of Edmonton, which one is your second favorite to cheer for? Nasty chat, do your thing. And 780-218-9999 if you would like to text us. I'm going to take a look at the text box. This one comes in, says Ottawa is the only other acceptable answer because F the Leafs. From the Flying Monkey out of Barrie. Oh no, that's a brewery. I'm going to call this texter the Flying Monkey out of Barrie though, because there's no sign off, no alias there. 780-218-9999. I'll read as many of those as we progress through the show. We have David Pagnotta coming up next. The Oilers looking for an 11th straight win, and the Leafs looking to snap a 3-game winless stretch. All right, let's get into starting lineups for the Oilers and the Maple Leafs for tonight. You got McDavid between Nugent Hopkins and Hyman. Draisaitl will have Evander Kane on his line and Warren Foegele. Kane was bumped up. We saw him there at practice yesterday. I tweeted it out, and we did see Kane a couple of nights ago taking some shifts with Draisaitl and Foegele. Kane did get an assist winning a faceoff when that line tied it up in Montreal. And I did tweet out yesterday that Derek Ryan was skating with Ryan McLeod and Connor Brown. Or I believe it was Matthias Janmark, pardon me. I got my lines screwed up as I was getting ready for today. McLeod was taking some reps on the wing, although I expect he probably slides back over to center. And then you got Hamblin with Brown and Ernie, if I am not mistaken, unless we saw something different. I'm going to verify that, but I was going off of what I saw yesterday. Today, the Oilers were optional. Yeah, Brown on the 4th line. Let's not kid ourselves here. Derek Ryan on the 3rd line. Janmark also on that line with McLeod. And that's the way that they are going to roll things out this evening against the Toronto Maple Leafs. All right. As for the defense, nothing changes. Nurse with Ceci, Ekholm with Bouchard, Kulak paired up with Desharnais. No Sam Gagner, although he's been skating with the group. And Phil Kemp, who made his NHL debut, playing 206 at forward in Montreal, expected to be out of the lineup. Here's what we are anticipating from the Toronto Maple Leafs. Austin Matthews between Pontus Holmberg and Mitch Marner. John Tavares with Matthew Nyes and William Nylander. And then you've got Max Domi with Tyler Bertuzzi and Kalle Yarncroke. David Kampf centering Bobby McMahon and Noah Gregor, the kid from the Beaumont area. And then Morgan Riley on defense paired up with TJ Brody. Simone Benoit with Jake McCabe. And then Mark Giordano with Timothy Liljegren. No Nick Robertson, no Connor Timmins, no Ryan Reeves. He's on the IR with a lower body issue. Joe Wall, IR sprained ankle. John Klingberg, IR hip issue there. That brings us to starting goalies for the Oilers. 25-year-old Stuart Skinner, 18, 9-1 on the season, 263 GAA, 903 save percentage with 2 shutouts in 29 games this season. Skinner versus the Leafs, a 1-1 record, 404 goals against average, 877 save percentage in the 2 appearances versus Toronto over the course of his career. And then at the other end of the rink, we are going to see 34-year-old Martin Jones get the start. 8-4-1 record with a 230 GAA, 924 save percentage, 2 shutouts in 14 games this season for Jones. Versus the Oilers, Martin Jones, a 10-8-2 record, 301 goals against average, 884 save percentage, and 2 shutouts in 21 appearances versus Edmonton. Of course, that stretched out over a prolonged career that saw him with the Kings, saw him with the Kraken, saw him for a long time with the San Jose Sharks as well. So Skinner versus Martin Jones between the pipes. Nolan Texan says, why is Kemp still up? Isn't it hurting them accruing cap space? Such bad cap management from Nolan. Nolan, I did expect him to get sent back down, but they're keeping him around for whatever reason. We'll see how that all plays out. Steve says, I don't cheer for any other team, but I don't hate Ottawa or Winnipeg. I passionately hate the West. I understand that, Steve. I understand that wholeheartedly. Question of the night one more time before we get to Pagnotta. Among the Canadian teams outside of Edmonton, which one is your second favorite to cheer for and why? Zedmo says, I'll cheer for Ottawa. Underdog team now. Some great playoff battles against the Sabres in the past. Another one says, I'll cheer for any Canadian team that plays against the Leafs. That's from DTGB. And Vance Van Vandervan also adds in a win or lose. I'm just glad today I could go pee after being outside and not have to coax it out like it was a scared turtle. Thank you, Vance Van Vandervan, for that. You were on fire the other day. A lot of those messages I could not read, and I would leave those to our nasties to enjoy as much as possible. All right, a couple other things to pass along your way heading into this matchup between the Leafs and the Oilers. First of 2 meetings between these 2 clubs this season. They will get together again in Toronto on March 23rd. We've got Chris Knobloch, who's got a hell of a record at 20-6 as head coach of the Oilers. The Oil coming off that 2-1 OT win in Montreal on Saturday. The Leafs, meanwhile, 4-2 loss to Detroit on Sunday, and they are playing their 3rd game in 4 nights. That is worth noting as well. I saw someone mention that in the nasty chat. Yes, indeed. The Oilers kicking off a brief 2-game homestand. They will see Seattle on Thursday night, then off to Calgary for a quick stop in Cowtown. Then they'll return here to good old our town. Should be nice and warm by then. Hopefully above -10. My goodness. And the Maple Leafs begin a 4-game Pacific Division road trip. They get Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, and Seattle. The Oil 11-6-1 at home this season. They've won 2 straight at home. The Maple Leafs 11-3-6 on the road. So pretty good record there. Although they have dropped 3 straight games, winless in 3 to be exact, as we use the proper verbiage around the National Hockey League. All right, let's get this paisano on here. It is the one and only David Pagnotta, and I'm going to throw the question of the night at Dave. He joins us over the phone today. You can catch him on Hello Hockey every Saturday from 10 to noon right here on Edmonton Sports Talk with myself, Sean Bell, and YouTube Trev. David Pagnotta, question of the night. I put it out there to our listeners and our viewers. Among the Canadian teams outside of Edmonton, which one is your second favorite to cheer for? I guess I could say to you, among the Canadian teams outside of Toronto or Montreal, because you're from Montreal but live and work out of Toronto now, which one is your second favorite to cheer for? Go ahead, Dave.
Ooh, well, Tommy, I don't cheer for anybody.
Thank you.
It means I don't care who wins, who loses on any given night means nothing. I cheer for either guys I know or the cities that I enjoy going to, because that just means I get to go to them and then have a better time in those particular cities. Like if I had to choose, between, I don't know, Vancouver and Raleigh, I'm probably going to take Vancouver. Not probably. Well, I 500% will. So.
Yeah. Raleigh's not that great.
No. Not, I mean, they have some great barbecue places and a couple of good steakhouses, but Vancouver has many more. So, yes, and of course, exactly. And there's no local in Raleigh. So I got to choose between Edmonton and Raleigh. It's a hands down. That's an easy decision.
Yeah, local, proud partner of Hello Hockey. You're right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, and one of Dave Pagnotta's many favorite haunts in our fine city. When you do come here to town, we always have fun, Dave. We always have fun. All right, the Leafs have dropped, or they've gone winless in 3 straight games. From what you've seen, Paisan, what has led to those losses?
They're the Toronto Maple Leafs. And this is what they do, Tom. This is what they do. They overplay their hand against top tier teams and underplay it against middle of the pack and the lower seeded teams. Usually, it's like right between middle and top tier, where they seem to play well all the time, for a full 60-minute effort, and things go awry against your top favorites and the bottom feeders of the league. So, they're up 3-0 on Saturday night against the Colorado Avalanche and give up 5 straight, empty netter included, and lose 5-3. You look at that team on the surface, that should be, well, you took your foot off the gas and but we'll move on. And then, you play the next night against a team that's in the middle. They're pushing for a playoff spot in the Detroit Red Wings, and you do well for the most part, and then you take your foot off the gas again in the third period and allow the Red Wings to get back in it, and they win that one as well Sunday night. There's a lot of consistent inconsistency with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Goaltending aside, I know a lot of people like to just throw all the shade on the goaltending right now because that's the easy target. But depth-wise, this is a team that outside of their core guys, when their core guys, you want to call it the core 4 up front, when they don't get going, when they're having an off night, it shows, and it's rare that the rest of the units can offset that, and that's one of Toronto's biggest issues.
Dave, I would imagine that Leafs Nation is handling all of this very well. No?
Oh, it is a calm, cool, collected group in like one block of the city, and everywhere else is mayhem. It depends on the night. One night it's trade this guy, the next night it's fire that guy, and on and on and on. It's amusing for me, and I'm sure some others in the city as well. But no, this team overall, the way they're constructed, they should be in a better position, or a more comfortable position than they are right now. The Tampa Bay Lightning and Detroit Red Wings are right behind them, I believe by a point.
Yes.
And I think Toronto has a game in hand of each. They do on Tampa. They have at least one on Detroit, I believe. There's no reason to feel comfortable. And I know in that room they certainly don't. But this is, you're in a position now with so many competitive teams. You take your foot off the gas, or you look away for a split second, and that's going to bite you in the rear end. And that's what happens and has happened to the Maple Leafs. You get to a good start, you enter a slump, you allow the guys to catch up to you. It's like almost opposite not opposite. It is a different scenario than what we've obviously seen so far this season in Edmonton, where you dig yourself a hole and now you're climbing very well out of it. The Leafs are rolling and then dip, and then a couple games, then dip, then roll, then dip all the way down again. It is a lovely roller coaster ride that makes a lot of people in the city vomit. And it's just the way it is.
Yeah, shocking. David Pagnotta joining us now for the fourth period. You can catch him as our Hello Hockey insider on Hello Hockey on Saturdays. Myself and Sean Bell from 10 to noon alongside YouTube Trev. And you can also catch Dave on NHL Network, among many other places. Busy man. Now, you're saying trade this guy from some fans, fire that guy on other nights from other fans. I was going to say, because Craig Button was on the Nielsen show this morning, and Dusty jokingly said, he's like, Craig fired Sheldon Keefe like 3 times on the show this morning. Even though Keefe has signed this extension, is Button on to something? Is Keefe's job on the line, or what's going to happen here?
Well, Sheldon Keefe is the coach that Brad Treliving, their general manager, has inherited. And we know that Tree came in from Calgary and shifting into this position. So he's not his guy.
Right.
So what does that mean? Does he have confidence in him? Does he believe in him? I think he does. But at the same time, I believe there are some question marks surrounding the strategy of this team. I think I'll preface this by saying I think Sheldon Keefe is a good coach. I do not believe he is the ideal fit right now stylistically with the current makeup of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So if they falter this season, where's the blame going to go? Well, it's not going to the GM because he just got here. Brendan Shanahan has the best armor available in the National Hockey League, so nothing's happening to him, even though there should be, and there, I think there are justifiably some things you could throw his way in terms of sharing the blame, but he's not going anywhere. You're not trading everybody, so where does it go? It'll fall on the coach and the coaching staff. And when they were in a bit of that mega dip at one point earlier on in the season, there was some talk of maybe they're going to look at this. Maybe they're looking at potentially at least exploring their options. Now, I don't think, barring something catastrophic this year, I'm not anticipating a coaching change happening during the season.
Right.
But if we see another first round exit, then it wouldn't shock me if they do make that type of move. Again, I think it's premature right now, and I do know that Tree's looking at other options. He's still looking at defense. He would love to bring in Chris Tanev if he can. There are other options out there available to him. If they can bring in somebody for the third line, perhaps a more stable two-way 3C, which, I mean, like 4 or 5 other contending teams would love to get their hands on too. But in Toronto's case, do that, slot Max Domi more on the wing, give yourself a more balanced bottom 6. I think they'd love to do that too. But there's time. You've got 6.5 weeks to the deadline. Nobody's doing any favors now. So I think they look more towards roster changes versus making a coaching change. But I think Craig, I don't think he's wrong by any stretch. If this season doesn't go remotely well, it would not shock me to see a new bench boss behind the bench next season.
In the nasty chat, Penner's Pancakes, Vance Van Vandervan says, before the end of the season, Woody will be coaching the Leafs. That's in regard to former Oilers bench boss Jay Woodcroft. And then Zedmo says, Woody would help the Leafs. Yeah, maybe. Hey.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, he's still kicking around town. Yeah.
I think there might be another team in Ontario that would love to at least explore that opportunity as well. A little more east. But I wouldn't expect that till the summer either.
Fair enough. Since we like to you and I and Belsey like to discuss juicy topics on Hello Hockey around the National Hockey League, because as we know, it's not an Oilers show, unlike this one. Corey Perry's name, lots of juice, great juice, all kinds of delicious juice. Corey Perry's name still, it's making its rounds throughout the league. Would the Leafs be interested in a Corey Perry, bring him closer to home? I know the Oilers are interested in him. We saw, Saravalli talked about it with Stoff last night, I think it was, and said that Perry would be interested perhaps at Edmonton. But asking you over the last couple of weeks on Hello Hockey, you said that you think he'll probably stay out east and might be more inclined. And then I talking to people from the Oilers, they're inclined to believe that he might want to stay in the U.S. What are you hearing lately, Dave?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, he spends most of his summers back home in London, Ontario. The initial, after the whole, kind of Chicago debacle happened, the word was that he wanted to stay east or be more east. Now maybe it's more central and east and whatnot, but I think at this point, I don't think there is a specific bias. And I know I mentioned this on Saturday as well, that probably more east. And I do think the preference might be there. But at the end of the day, if there's a contending team that wants to get their hands on Corey Perry fairly cheap, like you're looking at probably in and around $1 million cap hit. And of course, the salary would be prorated. So you're looking at $400,000 to $500,000 in terms of actual dollars being coughed up. You're going to have a hell of an opportunity here to get your hands on a great playoff agitator and a great guy in the room, especially under those circumstances. So whether you're the Oilers or the Maple Leafs, or another top tier contender that wants to round out their bottom six with a guy who's won, a guy that's proven, and again, a great character guy in the room, like he's one of those glue guys. This is going to be a great opportunity. And I think I know there are multiple teams that would love to get their hands on him. And I think a decision is likely to occur in the next couple of weeks, if not soon.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Edmonton in the mix, would you think?
Sounds like it. Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know definitive. Like I couldn't tell you if there's a favorite or if there's, one team leading the pack at this point. I think his camp wants to be relatively hush-hush just so they can evaluate all their options properly. But there are, last I heard, I think 5 legitimate opportunities, or teams anyway, that would like to add him. And of those 5, I mean, every single one of them are clearly playoff bound and top echelon teams. So he will have some pretty good options available to him.
David Pagnotta joining us now from the 4th period as we get you set for the Oilers and the Maple Leafs. All right. With this Nylander deal finally done, he gets a big, nice extension. He's going to be a Leaf for a long time. And they got the Matthews deal done, Dave. Marner, I think his contract he's still in tow for
one more year.
But one more year. And now a lot of people are saying Marner's the guy that's got to go, or that he might be gone. Like, what is the situation there? Can they hang on to all 3 of these guys? Is that realistic at all? Give us a sense of that right now.
Well, in this market, you tend to look for a whipping boy. And there hasn't
Only
been
that
a
market?
legitimate whipping. Well, specific to no, I mean everywhere. Some markets have like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But with Toronto specifically, the fan base loves to pick on somebody, and occasionally he can be an easy target. Look, he's a hell of a player, and he's on pace for another 90+ point season. If you include the 2 COVID shortened years, and if he continues this pace this year, that's 6 years in a row of 90+ points. He had 99 last year, 97 the year before that. He would have been in the 90s those 2 shortened seasons, and he had 94 before that. That's going to cost you. There is consistency with his performance, and he is one of the guys, one of the straws that stirs the drink here in Toronto. His playmaking ability is underrated, frankly. He's pretty solid and decent defensively. So this is a player that is likely to ask for a significant enough raise that some people will say fine, and the people that love to complain about every little thing will probably, moan about it.
Right.
But, look, you try to find somebody. Trading Mitch Marner doesn't make a lot of sense unless you're dealing star for star. Like that's the only area that I would, and where, in terms of up front, you might as well keep them.
Yeah.
Defense, I don't think that's the way to go, because you're gonna significantly weaken your offensive game unless you sign somebody. But now we're talking about a different scenario. The only thing that to me would make any sense from a consideration perspective is a goaltender. Now, how many star goaltenders under 30 in their mid to late 20s are available that are all-star caliber, Vezina candidate type of guys? There aren't that many. There aren't many available. Probably count on zero hands, because there aren't any. It's just like you have to create that market. So I would be very surprised. Look, in 2 years from now, not next summer, not this summer, next summer, going into that, in 25-26, the Leafs have $54 million in cap space. The cap at that point will be likely $92 million, in and around that.
Right.
You have a lot of room to play with. So you're basically looking at, between Marner and John Tavares, who is also up at that point, he'll look at a short-term deal. Mitch will look for a full 8-year contract. You're looking at in and around $20-21 million to dedicate to those two players. It's the way the league is going. You will have, that's just the nature of the beast. And with the cap at 92, you'll be able to sustain that. They'll be able to pull this off if they really want to, unless suddenly Mitch Marner is asking for 14, 15 mil, and then that's a different discussion.
Dave Pagnotta with us as we get set for the Oilers and Leafs. All right, speaking of this game, the Oilers have only scored 7 goals in their last 3 games. A lot of low-scoring hockey, even if you go back to the week prior where they only beat Ottawa 3-1 before hitting the road. But they haven't given up much. So they've been playing a lot of good 5-on-5 hockey. They've been winning low-event games. They've been patient, Dave. But we know that with all the offense on the ice tonight, the potential for things to pop off and the red light to be scorching all night long could be a thing. What do you anticipate in this one?
I mean, I would love to see like a 8-6 final. Just these two teams going at it shot for shot would be entertaining. I don't think it'll get to that point. I think you're probably in and around a 4-3 type of game. And honestly, either way, I think this is going to be a scenario and a circumstance where who gets the bounce that will put you kind of over the top in this one. Because I think both teams understand the offense that's going to be coming at them. So you're going to try to contain that as much as you can. It's hard to do. And in these types of scenarios, when you're going up against two of the best players in the National Hockey League, in Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, you got a little extra pep in your step. You got that extra little like, I want to come here and do this in their face. I want to rebound. I want to shut these fans up. And that's what and it's the same vice versa in Toronto. If the Oilers are playing there. So this is I think, because John Tavares has not been, at least the last 3-4 games, he's been off. Willie Nylander, the last 2 or 3 games, he's been a little off. So I think these guys are going to try to do a little bit extra. They've got Matthew Nyes on their line. But I think the second line has the potential for Toronto to be a little bit dangerous, or at least try it. Now, you try too hard, you screw up, you give up offensive opportunities for the other team, you're probably going to see a little bit less minutes in certain scenarios. But I think this is going to be also shot for shot. I think opportunity-wise, this is going to be a hell of a game and a fun one. Why this is not televised nationally, I don't know. It should be, but this is I think one of those middle pack tight games, but we'll still see the offense. So I'm going with a 4-3 caliber game on either side of the equation, and kind of go from there. I think Edmonton, with being at home, might have a bit of an edge here, but the Leafs, they better be playing with a chip on their shoulder after how they played the last 2-3 games.
We'll see if that happens. Paisan, thank you for hopping on the pregame show today. I look forward to catching up with you on Saturday on Hello Hockey.
You got it, Bello. Thanks for having me.
That is David Pagnotta from the fourth period. You can catch him on Hello Hockey on Saturdays. He is our Hello Hockey insider. Myself, Sean Bell, and the one and only YouTube Trev as well. You can catch Dave on NHL Network and SiriusXM NHL Network Radio every Saturday on the hot stove with our good friend and Kings insider, Dennis Bernstein, as well as the one and only Ryan Payton, who's a great host with those two characters. All right, I'll throw the question of the night out there. If you weren't tuned in earlier, if you're listening, hit us up, 780-218-9999. How you feeling going into this game? Or if you want to chime in on the question of the night, please do. And then, of course, if you're watching on YouTube, get into the nasty chat. We have Joaquin Gage coming up shortly. I saw him. He was eating some lemongrass soup. He is ready to go. He's got sustenance in his belly, and he's got everything he wants to talk about ready to go as well as we head into this Leafs-Oilers matchup. The question of the night is this. Among the Canadian teams outside of Edmonton, which one is your second favorite to cheer for? So DeCastro78 says Oilers are nothing. That's from Daryl in Port Moody. And then we also have a few people saying, I'm seeing a lot of Leafs and Habs. Seeing some people saying Ottawa because they're easy to like. Zedmo says Ottawa is an underdog team now. Some great playoff battles against the Sabres in the past. And then there's been some other people saying anybody against the Toronto Maple Leafs. So let us know your thoughts. 780-218-9999. And in the text line, we've got CB Radio guys saying the Leafs are not a top tier contender. Well, they're not playing like one for sure right now. Fat Dan says, I can't ever cheer for the Flames, Leafs, or Canucks. Not even if there's a fire, says Fat Dan. And he also adds, maybe Tree will fire Sheldo and bring in one of his guys like Sutter. Ha! Fat Dan. I don't know if that's going to happen. Caper Dan chiming in says, trying to stay positive, Tommy, but I feel like the streak ends tonight, which is fine by me. I'd rather drop a 2-point game and start another streak in our pair of 4-point games. The Wolf says he has a 6 o'clocker lager, my lucky toque, and I'm ready for this Hyman revenge party. The Wolf, very good, looking sharp. He's got the 6 o'clocker there. And I like that we can receive photos now in this text line since we've moved over to EST. So hit us up, 780-218-9999, or in the nasty chat. Let's get one real nasty guy on here. He is our game analyst. He is Joaquin Gage. Good evening, Gager. How are you, sir? Okay, you're muted. You've muted yourself. He's muted.
Sorry, I was eating soup.
Have you done this before? I'm just kidding.
No, I didn't want Trev to hear me eating while on the. So sorry about that. No, it was stressful getting home. There was an accident. Whatever, stalled cars everywhere, but we're all good. I'm ready to go. Can't wait. Exciting night. Really exciting.
Very exciting night. I asked the Nasties and our listeners, like, who's their second favorite Canadian team to cheer for? Obviously, the heavy majority choose the Oilers being their favorite. So, Oilers aside, which Canadian team are you okay cheering for? Do you have one, or are you not getting involved in something like that?
That's a good question. I usually lean towards the team that's playing well at the moment. Not so much the Leafs currently. I find that I find them arrogant and easy to cheer against. So
yes,
I heard a lot of people talking about the Ottawa Senators, a very easy team to cheer for with their young talent and kind of underdog attitude. I'd have to say Vancouver is the only team I really kind of get behind. Obviously, growing up there, growing up a little Canucks fan, going through just awful times as Edmonton would roll into town and destroy my Canucks. But Yeah, I guess I'd have to say just Vancouver then, Tommy, because the rest, them in Winnipeg. I can cheer for Winnipeg too.
Right. Like Winnipeg's kind of like they're not really hurting anybody, right?
Yeah,
I,
they're kind of in the middle.
yeah.
They're out of the way. Great hockey team to watch too.
Yes.
There's a lot to love about that team. I don't know. Maybe it was because on Two Guys for the past 3 years, I've been pumping the Jets tires, thinking that this was going to be a real successful year, and they've just run into either roadblocks in the playoffs or a lot of injuries, suspensions. It
Yeah.
just hasn't clicked. It really seems like that trade has ignited a fire within that locker room. They finally seem like they're going to make a push here because they're playing some tremendous hockey.
I know, and I am recognizing the fact that they swept the Oilers in the shortened season. I get that. But the Oilers had their way with the Winnipeg Jets for years and years and years. So, yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. So 780-218-9999. What's your second favorite Canadian team to cheer for? Leave the Oilers out of it. We want to hear from you. Nasty chat as well. Let's get to Game Changers with Joaquin Gage, brought to you by Damon Bunting Remax Elite. Damon Bunting, consistent, top producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among Remax realtors. He and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. Damon is community driven, understands what it takes to make a difference in our city. Check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. Gager, I like what you did with this one today. Number one, score early, take the crowd out of it. Aha.
It reminded me of one of my first games against the Leafs. Old Oiler Scott Thornton, just salt of the earth kind of teammate, unbelievable guy. And I remember just getting ready for the game, and he, when you see all the players in the hallway, Tommy, and everyone's kind of getting ready and pumping each other up a little bit, he blurted out, "Come on, boys," and we're in. I think it was Rexall at the time. He mentioned, "Okay, boys, get one early, take the crowd out of it." I just, here you're getting ready for the game, and he says something, and it's just hilarious because it was the first time coming out there, and against Montreal, obviously, but you actually get booed coming out into your own rink. It's just it's an atmosphere to play in that's unlike any other, and I would say almost even in a playoff type atmosphere too. We've been hinting of this kind of a matchup like this in a Stanley Cup final, which would halt Canada, of course. But I can't imagine what it would be like, because it's the only time where you get enough of the opposing fans from the other team to kind of counteract the cheering from your home fans. It's way more enjoyable to play with in a situation like this. You got to really control your emotions. There can be major swings in this game just because the fans are so much more into it. Oilers are going to, a lot of guys from Toronto, they know a lot of eyes are in this game watching them play against their hometown Leafs or close to where they grew up. So there's a lot of bragging rights and a lot of things going on outside just this normal regular season hockey game.
You mentioned the guys that are from the the province, and then the Toronto area, let's call it. And Zach Hyman, when I was leaving the rink, when the room opened for the Leafs media availability, Zach Hyman was talking with all the trainers and equipment guys and joking around with them. And then Calvin Pickard was also over there talking to some of his old buddies. And so, yeah, there is that connection. But when it comes to like the fans and you're talking about mid 90s where you're playing your first game against the Toronto Maple Leafs as an Edmonton Oiler at the old Coliseum, Rexall Place, Skyry Center, whatever the heck you want to call it. And they're booing you in Edmonton and you're wearing the home jersey like that's crazy. Do you think, I don't know, in 10, 20, 30 years that will change? Or do you think there's always going to be a Habs presence and a Maple Leafs presence in Western Canada that just won't go away?
I don't think so, because the people that, people from Ontario that move out to Alberta or go out west, they bring their loyalty with them.
Mhm.
and maybe they do watch a few more Oilers games, but that's a hard tradition when it's an original 6 team,
Yeah.
Tommy. And I think fandom has been passed down through generations of people in that greater Toronto area and Montreal. It's just the way it is. I hope it doesn't change, because that would mean that these games aren't as fun to participate in as a player or a fan at that point, right?
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, for those two teams, although there's a lot of pressure on them in their own markets, having to go through Canada and even parts of the US, like, you can see it. Their fans are all over North America, and when you look at their swing, like, this is a real important 4-game stretch for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They looking at it, there's a possibility that they could lose all 4 of these games. Like,
Right.
you can say that there's Calgary's you would kind of lean towards possibly the easiest game of this 4-game segment that they're on, and the Flames are playing good. Like,
Yeah.
it's nothing to say that the Toronto Maple Leafs could go home 0-4 after this trip. There's you alluded to it earlier, just the fact that there could even be a coaching change if that happens. But I think the one thing that they do have to their advantage is going into Calgary, Vancouver. It's almost like a home away from home, to a
Yep.
point where they can get a little bit of extra juice from their fans.
Flames have rattled off 3 straight wins. They're 2 points back of the Oilers. They've played 4 more games than Edmonton. The Kraken also at 47 points with Edmonton, but they've also played 43 games like the Flames. So Edmonton has games in hand on those 2 teams, are Pacific Division rivals. But you're right, Gage, when it comes to the Leafs, like this Pacific Division road trip that they're starting tonight in Edmonton, they go Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, Seattle. That could be big time trouble. Or maybe they get a boost from their fans here in Western Canada and it helps lead them to victory, but we'll see. Yeah, it's just something, like, I know we have a lot of people moving from Ontario, and the province has done a big campaign to get people to move to Alberta, and by all accounts it's working. So that I could see persisting. It's the Canadiens one where I'm like, maybe that one dies off. But like my cousin from here, he's a month older than me, hardcore Habs fan, didn't really care for the Oilers ever. It was because my uncle loved the Habs, my grandpa, the old Italian guy, loved the Habs, and now his sons, they're like 4 and 2. They're all Habsed up, man. And so I don't
Yeah.
think that goes anywhere.
No,
Like you
I
said.
don't. I love it. I like seeing fans travel to different parts of the country, but keep their allegiance. I think it's
Right.
important.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. All right, it is Game Changers with Joaquin. Gage. Number 1 was score early, take the crowd out of it, even though you're at home. Number 2, pull the goalie, Gager.
So, I mean, this is kind of looking at Oiler fans have seen this, just the turbulence in further goaltenders throughout the season. I think the Oilers are I've said it before, I think they're in a better spot that they've been in years with the 2 guys that they have going now. By all accounts, looking at Ilya Samsonov, very troubling season so far, almost mirroring Jack Campbell in a way.
Yeah.
Last game in against Detroit, acquitted himself quite well, still came out with the loss, though. I do believe we're going to see Martin Jones tonight.
Yes.
And playing really well. Like, his numbers show that he's kind of solidified that position for them. But hey, they've lost the last 3. Goaltending's always a question mark. I think if the Oilers can get to them get to Martin Jones early, who they've had tons of success against over the past few seasons, we might even see a goaltending change. I think that's just something that shoot the puck. Let's last game, you and Cass talked about it a lot on the post game show, that Cass saying shoot the puck. Don't pass up a chance here. Let's get more creating that chaos in front of the net from shots and rebounds, because I think another part of the weaker side of the Maple Leafs is their defensive coverage, where the Oilers in the offensive zone with their puck retrieval and causing turnovers can really, really dominate down low.
The goaltending situation with Samson, like Campbell was supposed to, I'm using air quotes for those that are listening and not watching, supposed to be called up relatively quickly. I had my suspicions that that was not the case. And every time I asked, I was told, yeah, there's no rush really. And 2 weeks became a month became 2 months. And now we're at the point where we're like, well, you're not even the starting goalie in Bakersfield. It's Olivier Rodrigue. And so I think we're beyond that. Are you surprised that they did bring Samsonov back up right away and they didn't? I know Joe Wall's been nicked up and that's been an issue, and they're talking about Hildeby that's supposed to be their up and comer, but they kind of just thrust him back into it. But I guess they're sticking with the plan. Like, how would you handle a situation like that, Gage, where you're the guy, you get the contract, doesn't go well, you get sent down even though you're still in your same city, and then you called back up, and they didn't even really play him. They just kind of worked on the mental side.
Yeah, because he got sent down and didn't even practice with the team, right? It was almost like a mini sabbatical during the season to try to get him turned around. And it was a few weeks ago, and Kelly Rudy was talking about how he would handle the whole situation. It kind of mirrored it, like giving this guy a break, and they kind of followed that blueprint to a T, where you say, you know what, we just want you to go away, don't think about hockey for a bit. And I can, goaltending is a tough position, but that seemed a little excessive to get a guy's game back. By all accounts, he had a good outing, still gets the loss, but seems like his game came back a little bit, right? So I it's a different game that from my time, Tommy, that never would have happened in my situation. I can see the benefits of a mental breather, especially for a goalie. We saw what happened after just those little mini breaks after Christmas, just a few days of not having guys wire vulcanized rubber at you can do wonders for a goalie, right? And you saw how Stuart Skinner after the Christmas break comes in with a huge performance. So I understand it, and maybe it's a new way of thinking. Maybe you'll see these more if a goalie loses his game for an extended time. Maybe you see those kind of weak breaks and just get away from the rink and try to focus back. It's a different time, but I understand it. I just don't know if it works for everybody.
Yeah, fair point. It was interesting. Excessive is a good term to use. And Toronto did the Alec Manoah thing too with their baseball team. And it's like, hey, wait a sec. What are you doing now? You're not really...
Well, I mean, look at the Campbell situation, right? If we look at that, it would, and hindsight's always 20/20. We don't have the crystal ball, but if you go back and say, Jack, go home for a week and then report to Bakersfield, right? Like instead of, I think he went right down to Abbotsford.
Yes.
The next day, played a game, didn't do well, played the next game. I think it went worse.
Yep.
So it compounded this snowball, right? Maybe taking that week off, we don't know what would have happened at that point, and just getting away from it to complete, like when the computer's not working, what do we do, Tommy? We unplug it and plug it back in. Maybe that works.
Maybe. It is Game Changers with Joaquin, Gage, Oilers, and Leafs. If you want to text in 780-218-9999 or via the nasty chat if you're watching on our YouTube channel. Like, share, subscribe. We're starting to pick up steam again towards 7,000 subscribers on YouTube. Let's keep that going. Number 1 on Game Changers with Gager tonight was score early, take the crowd out of it. Number 2, pull the goalie. Number 3, what's better than 10? 11.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal run. We talked about it at the Shamrock over a couple sudsy 6 o'clocker lagers on tap. It's amazing that they were able to accomplish something that the great teams of the Oilers of the past weren't able to do, right? Just a unbelievable accomplishment. But now let's see if you can keep this thing rolling. The start of the season didn't allow the Oilers to really take their foot off the gas here. And I think this is a huge opportunity to build even more confidence of beating the Toronto Maple Leafs, even though maybe, I mean, the Leafs are still third place, I believe, in the
Yes.
division. They're locking down the third, so it's not an easy game. These guys are there's some of the highest talent on the planet on the ice tonight in Edmonton. These guys want to show who's better. Leon looking at Nylander signing this contract. It's probably crossed his mind that well, I'm going to be compared to this guy at this point. I want to put him in the rear view mirrors for sure. And it's bragging rights. Like I said, a lot of these guys are from the Toronto area. Going back home, beating the Leafs, it means a lot, but it means a lot because it's 2 points that you can pull out of the Eastern Conference. That, quite frankly, I don't think a lot of teams will be able to do as the Leafs kind of pull things together. I do think they're going to get better as the season goes on towards the playoffs. But this is a big opportunity to keep this train rolling.
Yeah, absolutely, Gage. And one of those great Oilers teams of the past was the 2000-2001 Edmonton Oilers that did achieve 9 straight victories. I believe you were part of that squadron, and it's tough to relinquish that title, isn't it?
No, yeah, it was very hard. Just like my winning the Shamrock Oilers Bonspiel Open too, so I had to relinquish that title. 2 titles in one night wasn't an easy night for me, but the 6 o'clock loggers eased the pain.
Yes, and you were a life of the party among many, and it was great to have you there. What a fun post game show that was. Shout out to the Sheet Disturbers, my team, Oilers alumni Bonspiel champions, which was a great time at the Shamrock Club. Gage,
if I can't win, I like the fact that the torch has been passed on to another Edmonton Sports Talk member.
I respect that, and I graciously accept, and I hope to carry that torch well until next year's tournament and Bonspiel.
Awesome.
Gage, great stuff. We'll catch up with you on the post-game show.
Sounds good, buddy.
That is Joaquin Gage, our game analyst in tonight as we get set for the Oilers and the Maple Leafs. We're going to read some texts. Lots coming in. And I see people, they're subscribing to our YouTube. Thank you so much. Lots of great locations that we've added to our map inside our studios where we have a map of the world, Trev, right? And we started pinning different cities around the world where people have been listening to EST. And there was like 3 or 4 that were just added today. Weren't there? Like one in England. There was another one like Germany.
Yeah, a lot of places in Europe. It's really cool. I love that. That's one of my favorite things to hear when people are tuning in, and it's really cool that people are choosing to hear from us all across the world. I think that goes a long way. It means a lot for us, and clearly we're doing something right, Tommy. They love to hear from us, so it's sweet.
We love it. We thank you so much, and let's keep this train going because we like the path that it is headed for sure. All right, let's get to some text, and then we're going to get to some audio as the Oilers and Leafs get set to tangle down at Rogers Place in about 39 minutes. Puck drop just after 7:08 to be exact. This one from Jason the Pharmacist says, Canucks, Tommy, staying out west, but cannot cheer for the Flames. So that goes back to the question of the night. What's your second favorite Canadian team to cheer for if you have one? Obviously can't pick the Oilers. This one from Steak Bite Trevor says, I still cheer for the Nordiques. Well, that's good. Where? I don't know, but that's good. I respect the Nordiques very much. It's too bad that we don't have a team in Quebec City. And the league uses Quebec City as a red herring. I feel awful for Quebec City because I don't see them getting a team anytime soon. The market's just too small. They built a beautiful new arena. And it's like MLB with Montreal. It's like, oh yeah, hey, well, we'll just go to Montreal if Tampa doesn't want to build a new stadium. Oh, Oakland, you don't want to stay in Oakland, build a new stadium. And Vegas is well, you can go to Montreal, and they just use Montreal, and it's too bad because the heartstrings get tugged on. And I think of poor Low Tide immediately whenever the Expos come up. And that's kind of how it is with Quebec City in the National Hockey League. So like Kansas now, Atlanta again, Houston, obviously. Salt Lake City is right at the top. I've been told many times that Salt Lake is ready to go for an NHL team. and the NHL's very interested. So poor Quebec City and those Nordiques. They were going to have such cool jerseys the next season after they, I think it was 94, 95 was their last year. And they had these new wolves on the front with like icicles in the background, and they were going to switch to those, but they got moved to Colorado instead and wound up winning the Stanley Cup with Patrick Waugh in goal. But Norman at Combine says, "Hey, Tom, the streak continues. The Leafs are good. The Oilers are better. Have a good night. I'm here at work till 8 p.m. Go Oil." Good to hear from you, Norm. Heavy Hockey, Dash. Hello, Dash. Great work on the hangout as always, my friend. Dash says, outside of the Edmonton Oilers, my favorite Canadian teams are Tampa Bay or Boston. Yeah, well done, Dash. I could see you coming up with something like that. Well played. Another one says from Naughty Possum. What's up, Naughty Possum? Should be an exciting game. I made the 4-hour drive down. All right, Naughty Possum. Hopefully the roads weren't too bad. Drive safely. And then Sean says, not to look ahead, but the possibility of Thursday's game versus the Kraken being the battle of 11s. Both teams can head to Thursday with an 11-game win streak. And let's take a look at what's going on with the Kraken right now. They trail the Rangers 4-1 at MSG late in the second period. All right, let's get to some audio now. I think we're going to go inside the Oilers locker room first. Let's go and hear from Chris Knobloch. What say you, YouTube, Trev?
Yeah, sounds good. Have him in the queue. So here is head coach Chris Knobloch.
Does it make it a little easier playing the Maple Leafs tonight in terms of knowing that your team's kind of going to get up for this game a little bit more, with it being the only visit in Edmonton, and this game traditionally has a little bit more surrounding it?
I think we're excited to be back home playing in front of our fans. We had a good road trip, and also we're playing a pretty good team with some really good players, and so do we. So, usually when good hockey players see other good hockey players, there's a little internal competition between themselves and wanting to be the best. So I think there's some excitement on that part of it. But, just Edmonton, Toronto, I'm sure there's a little bit of rivalry considering they don't play very often. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be an exciting game.
For you personally, this is your first time as a head coach facing the Maple Leafs. Do you appreciate kind of the history with the Maple Leafs and the history of having these two franchises play each other tonight, and just, having two kind of Canadian markets play each other that have a lot of, success behind them in the past, that sort of thing?
It's been exciting for me and our team lately, playing the original 6 teams, also teams from Canada. We went through Detroit, Chicago, Montreal, and now we're playing Toronto. I think those are exciting games all the time, and I think tonight also I think we're on a little bit of a run, obviously, and playing really good hockey and coming back home. We want to continue that as much as we can.
Chris, just to pivot, Sherry Basson's here. Are you here if Sherry doesn't bring you in Erie?
No, I'm likely not. Sherry has been a big part of my coaching career. We were together for numerous years in Erie. He orchestrated putting together some really good hockey teams for me to coach, and I'm very grateful for Sherry giving me opportunities as a coach, but also grateful for the times that I've got to spend with him as a person. He's tremendous, shares a lot of stories, and very kind-hearted, been wonderful to me and my family. Yes, I owe Sherry a lot.
When you first got here, you evaluated the team's game, obviously lots of mistakes happening. When you look at the way you're playing right now, what adjustments, what mistakes have you cut out that have been the most meaningful, would you say?
Well, I think during this stretch, we haven't relied on one thing. Our power plays come up big some games, but we haven't relied on it for us to be on a 10-game winning streak. And, I think our power play's just been okay. It hasn't been exceptional, which it usually is. Our penalty kill's been really good. Our, goal scoring has been down a little bit. We haven't relied on scoring 4 or 5 goals every night. We've been our game's been well-rounded. But I think probably the biggest thing that we've done well is just being able our checking, and that includes our penalty kill, being able to keep the pucks out of our net. I think as a team we've been doing a really good job. And then I don't be ignorant not to mention how well our goaltenders have been playing. You know, our team defense has been really good. We've been limiting the scoring chances against, and when there have been breakdowns, our goaltending has been outstanding and coming up with those key saves.
What would you say about your leadership group's ability to hold the room, each other accountable? Because I imagine that's part of it, being able to go on the streaks you've been on, that a certain amount of the players looking after some things themselves.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that happen inside the room that the coach never sees, never hears, but you know it's being handled. And what I do see is on the bench. That's mostly where my interactions with the players, and that's where I see when there's stressful moments and how they conduct themselves and how they handle it. And there's been times where we need a big penalty kill at the end of the game, or we're playing really well, but we just can't score. And, you know, all these things that could be upsetting to our team and kind of get us off the rails and not play very well. And our leadership guys are, you know, our best players, our the older guys, the leaders, have been able to hold that together. And, you know, if they get anxious, if they get nervous, if they get unglued, it filters throughout the rest of the team. And they've held it together, they've stayed composed, and our team has done that.
Chris, you talked about the low-scoring games recently. This game has a lot of potential for some high offense, high octane. Do you anticipate that tonight, maybe a bit of a breakthrough offensively from both sides potentially, and how comfortable are you with this team now in those low-scoring games?
I think it's really important that we went through these tight-scoring games. It's just going to get tighter as the season goes on and definitely goes into playoffs. We, and not that we've taken away the offensive ability, you know, some of these games, you look at our expecting goals in some of these games. I know the Detroit game was one of our highest on the season, and we played a really good goaltender who didn't allow any goals. And same thing in Montreal. I think we could add a few more than we did. Their goalie played well. So goal scoring down a little bit, but I don't think there's any cause for worry. I think we're still generating our chances. They'll go in later on. But I like that we're doing a heck of a job keeping the puck out of the net. And as the season goes on, it's usually the best checking teams, the teams that can keep pucks out of the net are successful, and that's really important for us.
All right, there's Chris Knobloch getting set for his team's matchup with the Toronto Maple Leafs, looking for an 11th consecutive victory. Now, that would be something, doing against a Toronto team that has had a lot of success against the Oilers in recent years. I was looking at the numbers earlier, and I was like, oh boy, Edmonton has only won 2 of the last 11 home games against Toronto. They did win against the Leafs here last season, so that's a good thing. And the Oil and their record against Toronto at home all time, 28, 26-2 with 6 ties. Remember those? They had 6 of them here in Edmonton against the Leafs. And at one time, the Leafs were in the same conference as the Oilers. They were a Western Conference team up until I think the late 90s when Cujo went over there. They switched over. That's when Nashville, Atlanta, Columbus, and Minnie were coming into the league. Trev, do you even remember that?
No, that was before I was born.
Wow.
Yeah.
Joaquin, when Joaquin played against the Leafs at home and got booed by Edmonton people, the Leafs were in the Western Conference. So that was a long, long time ago.
What? That's so weird.
It was weird.
It doesn't even make sense.
Well, Detroit just moved to the Eastern Conference a handful of years ago, right? So yeah, it's been strange, but they used to be a Western Conference team. All right, let's go back inside the Oilers locker room. We're gonna hear from the captain, Connor McDavid.
You guys are on, Connor, and a lot of it seems to be built on not giving up much, and a penalty kill that's been fantastic. Maybe not quite the traditional Oilers streak, I would say. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously this narrative out there that we need to win 6-5 or whatever, but we've won a lot of hockey games over the last couple of years, and we know how to win games. And obviously, right now, we're doing it, like you said, by not giving up too much. And we've been getting good goaltending, and like you said, the kill's been good, and we've been finding different ways to win games, and that's a great sign.
Is there a source of pride that you guys are the first team to be able to do 10 in a row?
I find it a little bit surprising that none of the '80s teams would have won 10 games, but yeah, certainly anytime you can set a franchise record, it's something to be proud of. Something we're proud of in this room.
It takes staying focused, I would imagine, to rattle off, to not kind of rest on your laurels a little bit and not let your guard down a little bit. It's not like you were perfect through that streak, but your attention to detail was enough to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, but that goes back to the start, obviously. We don't have much to hang our hat on right now. So, we got to keep it rolling. We knew we needed a few streaks to get ourselves back into it, and we've done that. Now it's about staying there and keeping it, our game at this high level.
It's not good for your team when the power play isn't smoking hot. Is it good for your team to win games when your power play is not contributing like it traditionally has?
Yeah, I think it's always a good thing to win games. You take wins no matter how they come. I think our power play can certainly be better. Our power play can, we know it's a strength of our group and can help our team win games. It has for a long time, and I would expect it to get back to that level. Yeah.
Do you feel like you talked about the hole early on, do you feel like you dug yourself out of it now?
It doesn't matter if we dug ourselves out or not. It's, we find ourselves in a playoff spot, but it's going to be a tight race all the way to the end, and we know that. And, it's about our group continuing to play good hockey, and that's ultimately what we want to do and what we're focused on. And if we do that, we know the results will come, and we'll like where we end up.
What's the biggest challenge the Leafs present tonight?
Yeah, I mean, so many different things. Obviously, they got special players over there. They got, I mean, what do they got, like 4 or 5 guys going to the All-Star game? I mean, it's they got lots of talent over there, and they're always a tough matchup.
Has Zach Hyman even maybe exceeded the expectations when the team signed him as a free agent, and given, where he has progressed to over the course of the last couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, not all free agent signings work out, but obviously Zach has been above and beyond anyone's expectations, I would say, from the moment he got here. Not only on the ice, but off the ice, what he's done for our room, and the leader that he is, the person that he is, an amazing person. And on the ice, his game kind of speaks for itself. He's having an unbelievable year this year. I felt like he should have been an all-star, but that's just my opinion. But I just feel like he's bringing his game to a whole nother level.
Connor, why do you think? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You go.
Jump in. He's doing this thing where he's tucking himself up against the post, basically saying, "Hit me with it if you have to."
Yeah. I mean, his first year here, we kept telling him to get to the backside, and for whatever reason, he couldn't seem to find a way there. And then, during that playoff run, he tucked himself back there and scored a few goals. So he's kind of stuck with that, and it takes a lot of courage to stand back there with a guy like Bouchard shooting it, or somebody kind of shooting it. Could go up a stick or whatever, but he stands back there and is willing to score any way he can.
So have you actually shot the puck with the intention of hitting him with it and banking it in?
No, never. I mean, I'm always shooting to score, but sometimes it gives a little bit of extra leeway, I guess. If it goes off him and he can put it in, then it's just as good. So, I think you've seen a few teams kind of adopt that. I see Tavares standing back there from time to time now, and I see guys standing back there. So, it's it takes a lot of courage though to stand back there.
Okay, it's my turn now.
You would pay more attention, I guess, to Matthews and Marner and all those guys. Did you notice Zach? I mean, you played against him 3 games in a row, I remember, in that one season.
Yeah, we were couldn't wait for the Leafs to leave after that week. That was a long week, but I noticed Zach every time we played him. He's super competitive, hard to play against, hard on the puck. Seems like I would play lots against him too. So I didn't love it much. So definitely glad he's on our side now.
Okay, I'm gonna butt in now.
All right.
Why do you think he's been able to have this year-over-year progression? Like, he's 31, he just seems to keep getting better. Why?
Well, I think he's continuing to evolve his game. When he first came into the league, he was kind of just viewed as like a penalty killer and third line guy, checker, works hard, and Now he doesn't kill penalties at all, and he stays out for 2 minutes on the power play. So he's changing his game a little bit. But he's working at his game, which is always it's always a good thing. And like I said, he's just continuing to evolve, and you see him scoring goals, but not a lot of guys can score.
League-wide save percentages are as low as they've been in well over 10 years. Do you have any theories as to why that is?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe the game's changing a little bit. I think the skill of the players is on another level. I mean, a guy like Austin can score from just about anywhere in the offensive zone. So, it makes it tough for goalies. The power plays are really good. I think those all have contributing factors.
Toronto comes to Edmonton once a year. Does it still feel like a bigger deal than some games playing the Leafs here in Edmonton? Or?
Yeah, it's always fun. Obviously it's my hometown team, and grew up watching the Leafs closely, and it's always exciting.
Who'd you get autographs from?
I played on Curtis Joseph's son's team, Tristan. So grew up around Cujo a little bit, and that was always fun to have him around.
Connor, Matthews and Marner get a lot of attention, but Nylander's leading the way for them in terms of scoring. What has stood out the most to you about him? You've gone up against him?
Just his skill level. I've played against Nylander even as kids, and he was amazing back then. And obviously still his skill level is just through the roof, and it seems like he's determined, and obviously deserves that contract he signed.
All right, there's Connor McDavid. He has 57 points on the year, and William Nylander also has 57 points on the year. The Oilers captain, having played a few less games, was nicked up earlier in the season and seems to be kicking it up a notch or two, and will, I'm certain, be in the... If he's not leading the league in scoring by the end of the year, he'll be right there. But Kucherov, McKinnon also having monster seasons as well. Let's get to a few texts. There was a text that says, I want to see YouTube Trev on camera, but you said that there's a bit of a hiccup there, Trev, right?
I mean, I kind of worked around it now. We can see, but yeah, I don't know. Like the angle's just a little off because if you were here at the start of the show, our second monitor or my main monitor kind of blew. So I'm working on this other one. So now if I put on the camera, it looks like I'm like looking in like a weird angle. If you want, we can do it, Tommy. It's totally up to you.
I thought you were going to put yourself on there.
Okay, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah. So is that weird? Because like now I'm like looking this way, but like before I'd be looking this way, It works?
It's only weird because you said it.
Okay. So we're going to go with this. That's fine then. It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, that's not that bad.
There you go.
Sweet.
All right.
Well, I'm here. Hello, everyone.
Hello, there you go. People ask and they shall receive. We also asked where people were tuning in from. And Andrew's in from Charlotte, New Brunswick. I hope I'm saying that right. That's awesome. T. Willison says you can pin West Union, Illinois. If you can find it, that is. We can look it up. Absolutely. And then I saw a few others here. Ohatton, Alberta. I hope I'm saying that right, Big Jack. And then Sheldon's in Midland, Texas. So there's a lot of people tuning in from all over the place that we need to pin on our huge map of the world. So yeah, that's
noted.
Kind of neat.
I'll do this right after the show. Yeah. I got them.
Okay, good. I appreciate that you wrote those down. Excellent, YouTube Trev. Let's get to a couple of texts, and then we do have some more. Should we hear from the Leafs, Trev? What do you think?
Yeah, we could do that right now. Let's
okay.
Yeah, let's do that, Tommy. Actually, that's a good idea. Here is let's hear from Austin Matthews first.
Okay.
Role here. What's the biggest challenge you see on the other side tonight?
Yeah, I mean they're playing some really good hockey, obviously on both sides of the puck, and like you said, they've been on a roll, so it's obviously going to be a good challenge for us tonight. In our situation, trying to get back on track.
What was your takeaway from the weekend? What kind of needs to jumpstart for you guys?
Yeah, I think just consistency throughout the game, not taking our foot off the pedal, and just doing the things that make us successful for a full 60 minutes.
With you guys, the least bit surprised that Zach's got 26 goals?
No, not really, honestly. I think, he's a guy that lives at the net. He's one of the hardest working guys I've ever played with, and playing with a pretty good player there too, which helps. But obviously, just his ability to get open, to work and battle in front of the net, and capitalize on those opportunities. So.
What was that matchup against McKinnon like? Sheldon mentioned it's like a different level when they're on the ice with Makar and Taves. Like, what did it look like to you?
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously an elite player. A lot of elite players on that team, on that line, including the back end. So, obviously, they can snap it around really good if you give them time and space to, and can make plays that can obviously hurt you and end up in the back of your net. So, just trying to limit those and be above them as much as possible with their speed coming through the middle, and check well.
Do they attack any different than the McDavid line that you'll face tonight, do you find?
I mean, maybe a little bit, but in the end, I mean, they're coming at you with a lot of speed, and they're trying to attack, which is why they're very successful. So, in the end, I think it's just knowing who you're out there against, and trying to manage that and be above guys, and on the D zone communicating, with our guys and making sure that with the way they play and the amount of speed that they generate, and kind of just skating all over the ice and getting open and stuff, just making sure guys are on other guys.
Austin, I apologize if you've already answered this, but can the start of a road trip present an opportunity to hit the reset button for you guys as a group coming off last week?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we just looked back to about a week and a half ago going out to California and, playing 3 really solid games out there and just kind of getting squared away. So, obviously, with the way this week's went, obviously we'd like it to be, different than it went, but it's in the past now, and, we got a new challenge ahead of us here tonight and throughout this road trip. It's not an easy one, so obviously you want to get off to a good start tonight.
What are your thoughts on that new format, skills format at the All-Star game? You looking forward to that?
Yeah, I think it's cool. I mean, it's obviously different. I think the one that's been kind of, predominantly going on maybe got a little bit stale, so it's never a bad thing to switch it up.
And it's supposed to be for fun, but there's some money on the line. Like, you guys take it more seriously.
Yeah, sure.
We get these guys twice now that the North Division is done. What does this type of game mean to you?
I mean, it's just 2 points on the line, obviously, and I mean, I think you guys could probably play it up a lot more than than what it really means. It's obviously we're going against a good team with some really good players on their team, and they're playing very well right now, and we're trying to get back on track as a team. So that's really the main focus.
All right, there's Austin Matthews. Whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, he wasn't too interested in that, eh?
Yeah, I was going to say a bit dismissive. He answered everything, but he was asked about the extra money. He just said, yeah, sure. Whatever, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't matter. These guys make tons of money. I did see some people texting in, so you're going to add a few more names and cities to the list to pin on the board. We've got Manning, Alberta. That's from Oil City Dynasty. I know some played hockey with some guys from Manning, some big dudes. Chad Brune, big scary dude. Obviously Jason in Leduc, and then another one says tuning in from Kimberley, BC, just upriver from HR Daddy in Crans. Go Oil. That's a good one. All right, Trav, some final thoughts from you as we wrap up the show.
Well, just looking at it, Tommy, the last few games, the Oilers haven't really started. They've scored late, right? Like the third period, and I think third period. They haven't scored a first period goal, if I'm not mistaken. Start a little bit better. I wouldn't mind to see. The crowd's going to be bumping. There's going to be, lots of that. So here's hoping the boys bring it. But the Oilers, it took them 40 years, Tommy. It took the Oilers 40 years pretty well to get a 10-game heater. Like Gage said, let's keep this hot streak going because I can't wait another 40. So let's keep it going. I'd like to see 11 tonight, and I certainly think they can do it the way they've been buzzing. They've been winning. We've talked about it all day. They've been winning. They've been playing stingy defense. They've been winning the low-scoring games that they haven't in previous years, and it's been nice to see. So whether it's a blowout, whether it's a low-scoring game, I don't know, but I can assure you it's going to be a good one, and here's hoping the Oilers get the dub.
Shout out to Bloomington, Indiana. Shout out to Bear Lake, BC, Innisfail, Alberta, and Conklin, Alberta. Trev will add all of those
on the map
to our world map. A big thank you to David Pagnotta from the fourth period for stopping by. Joaquin Gage on Game Changers filling in for Cass. And for YouTube, Trev and Gage, I'm Tom Gazzola saying thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the Oilers versus the Leafs. We'll catch up with you on the post-game show. Ciao for now.